Crimson Desert drops on March 19, 2026. For years we've watched the trailers, we've seen the too good to be true gameplay, and we've waited for Pearl Abyss to finally deliver their single-player magnum opus. But, just as we crossed the 1 week to launch finish line, the hype train hit a massive corporate-shaped brick wall. On March 12, the Steam page was quietly updated, with 3 words that every PC gamer dreads. Denuvo anti-tamper. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not an AI. I'm just a guy who happens to sound like he's running on a slightly glitchy operating system. But it's not just the PC crowd getting the short end of the stick. Physical collectors who secured early copies of the game are finding out the hard way that their disc is effectively a $70 plastic coaster until the servers give them permission to play. We are witnessing the modern ownership scam in real time. You pay full price, you get treated like a suspect, and your physical copy is basically an IOU. Crimson Desert, the game that's trying to be your next obsession, while also acting like your parole officer. Why does every hype launch now come with a terms and conditions ambush? Let's get into the facts. Here's the first punch in the throat. On March 12, 2026, exactly 7 days before the global release, the Steam store page for Crimson Desert was updated. Suddenly, the third-party DRM notice appeared confirming Denuvo anti-tamper with a 5 different PC within a day activation limit. 7 days out, just casually. Like they forgot to mention, they hired a bouncer for your single-player RPG for the last 3 years of marketing. That timing isn't an accident. That's a calculated corporate maneuver. You wait until the pre-order numbers are locked in. The marketing spend is at its peak, and the cancel button feels just a little too far away for the average consumer. If Denuvo is as harmless as the industry claims, why hide it until the final week? The backlash was immediate. The Steam forums and Reddit turned into a digital town square on fire. We saw threads like Denuvo, pre-order instantly cancelled, trending within hours. People feel lied to, and honestly, they have every right to be. Transparency is the bare minimum we should expect when dropping $70 on a product. Pearl Abyss failed the ethics check, they failed the transparency check, and now their PR team is spinning so hard, they could power the city of Seoul. Now for the physical edition comedy hour. Early shipping happens. A few lucky players in Europe and Asia got their PS5 boxes a week early. They popped the disc in, ready to see the world of Pywell, and were met with a loading bar and an error message. The PS5 disc copies roughly 77 GB of data, but then the system hits a wall. The game demands a mandatory 48 GB to 70 GB day 1 patch before it will even boot. Without an internet connection, to verify and download the remaining chunks, the game simply won't run. Think about that. We aren't talking about a patch that fixes a few bugs or stabilizes the frame rate. We are talking about a digital lock that prevents the game from functioning at all. This isn't physical ownership, this is a license key with a box. Imagine explaining this to someone from 2006. Hey, I bought the disc for the new RPG. Cool, let's play. No, I have to connect to a server in South Korea first and download 50 gigs of permission, or the disc won't spin. That's not a game purchase. That's a subscription without the honesty. If you buy this game on a disc in 10 years, and the Pearl Abyss servers are down, you don't own a game. You own a round piece of plastic. Here's where the publishers always play the victim. We must protect our investment from the pirates. Buddy, it's 2026. The pirates are not the reason games fail. Most people just want a game that runs without stuttering. Denuvo exists because executives think piracy is the only reason a game might underperform, not the $70 price tag, not the 150 GB storage requirement, and certainly not the competition from games that actually respect their players. The fix: Denuvo always punishes the paying customer first. The person who pirates the game 6 months from now will get a version that doesn't have a bouncer checking its ID every 30 minutes. The person who paid $70 on day 1 gets the performance tax. Pearl Abyss is gambling that the protection of their first week sales is worth the permanent stain on their reputation. It's optics over experience. It's a big sticker for shareholders that says we did something, while your CPU is in the corner, quietly weeping. The takedown hammer. Because once those early physical copies leaked, the corporate response wasn't, oh well, people are excited. It was, scorch the earth, delete everything. Leaked gameplay from early copies has been vanishing from YouTube and X faster than a speedrun. Even some review content that went up early due to accidental embargo breaks was nuked instantly. Pearl Abyss calls it spoiler protection. Sometimes that's true, but usually it's about control. They want you to see the 4K 60 FPS high-end marketing footage, not the raw, unpatched, day 0 gameplay from someone's base PS5. If the game is as great as they say, why the panic over footage? The irony is delicious. They locked the physical discs to prevent people from playing early, and they're still fighting a losing war against the internet anyway. All they did was annoy the people who actually supported them. Watch the split happen in real time. Console players are looking at the Denuvo news and saying, not my problem. Meanwhile, PC players are looking at their $2,000 rigs and realizing they're getting the Distrust Edition. Denuvo is a PC-specific headache, while console players have to deal with the initial setup and the massive download. They don't have a background process constantly monitoring their system. PC players get the best graphics, sure, but they also get the premium Distrust package. The best platform argument gets real quiet when your version of the game is the only one getting kneecapped by third-party DRM. And the worst part, the industry learns the wrong lesson every time. They don't look at the refunds and think, maybe we should stop using Denuvo. They look at the sales and think, they're still buying it, keep going. Erupts tried to calm the crowd by telling journalists like Paul Tassi that the benchmarks and Digital Foundry videos they released were already running with Denuvo. They want you to believe the performance you saw is the performance you'll get maybe. But Denuvo doesn't just lower average FPS, it often causes frame time spikes and micro stuttering, especially on mid-range push. The GTX 1060 crowd, the canary in the coal mine, is about to find out if Denuvo turns their playable experience into a hitch fest. If you have to swear it's fine, it's usually not fine. Before the internet melts its own brain, let's look at the actual FAQ Erupts released on March 12. They explicitly stated players will need an internet connection to complete the initial setup day 1 patch. Once installation is complete, the game can be enjoyed offline. So, it is not always on, in the sense of a live service game like Black Desert. However, that's small comfort for someone without high-speed internet who just bought a physical disc. Offline play later is not offline play now. Furthermore, Denuvo itself requires periodic handshakes with its servers. If you stay offline too long, or if you change your hardware, remember that 5 machine limit. Denuvo will eventually demand you go back online to check in. It's a permission slip model, and for a single-player epic, it feels completely out of place. This game has been in development since it was a Black Desert prequel, back in 2019. It morphed into its own standalone IP, survived multiple delays, and finally looks like the game-changer Erupts needs. But guess what nobody is talking about right now? The combat, the world, the characters. The conversation has been hijacked by DRM. This is the tragedy of modern launches. Technical drama becomes the headline, and the quality conversation gets buried. One launch day stutter, one server hiccup during the initial check, and that Steam rating goes to mixed, before most people even finish the tutorial. You can build a masterpiece and still lose the first week to bad vibes. Don't poke the audience with a stick and act shocked when they bite. We always hear the vocal minority argument. Oh, it's just a few people on Reddit complaining about Denuvo. Is it though? The outrage is loud enough that major outlets like Kotaku, Vice and Forbes are covering the DRM drama specifically. A refund wave might not bankrupt Erupts, but it kills the momentum. The real danger isn't the refunds, it's the day one perception. Most casual buyers don't check Steam B or read FAQ notices. They buy the game, find out they have to download 50 GB to use their disc, or they experience a stutter on their PC, and they head straight to the review section. Denuvo is perception poison. It sets the stage for a negative experience before the player even hits the start button. This is the part that should keep you up at night. Crimson Desert is normalizing a world where physical media is just a delivery vehicle for a digital lock. By server locking physical discs until a specific GMT release time, they've successfully stopped early leaks from turning into early Let's Plays. But zoom out. Game preservation just took another bullet to the chest. If this launch works, if the sales are high, and the backlash is ignored, this becomes the new industry standard. Publishers will call it secure launch technology. Marketing will call it anti-leak protection. You'll call it, why did I pay $70 for a box that doesn't work? So, what's the actual takeaway? Erupts wants Crimson Desert to be a heroic, single-player epic. Instead, they've turned the launch into a hostage negotiation. Denuvo was added at the 11th hour. Physical discs are essentially partial installers. Leaks are being hunted down by lawyers. And the offline play is gated behind a mandatory online check. Notice how none of those headlines are about how sick the combat is, or how beautiful the world of Pyro looks. That's the problem. If you're buying on PC, you're rolling the dice on your CPU's performance. If you're buying physical, you're accepting that disk now means permission slip. And if you're pre-ordering, you're telling the industry, go ahead, restrict me, I'll still pay. March 19 is the moment of truth. If the game runs like a dream, the drama might fade. But if launch day wobbles even a little, that Steam page is going to look like a crime scene, and we already know who they'll blame. It won't be themselves. If you're planning on picking up Crimson Desert, or if you just cancelled your pre-order because of the Denuvo news, let me know in the comments. Are we overreacting, or is this the final nail in the coffin for game ownership?